I fought my best friend to seduce my boss, but he seduced us both first. But he made us share him. Holy fuck. I nearly stand, being breathless, while I nervously adjust my tie. I watch Tommy standing on the other side. Tommy looks at me as if his hands didn't just linger on my thigh a while ago when we had a heated argument in the elevator. The numbers climb toward the 42nd floor. The steel box is empty except for me and Tommy Chen, my best friend since we were 8 years old. We're dressed identically in tailored charcoal suits, a coincidence that's happened so often over the years. Tommy steps closer, straightening my already perfect tie with gentle hands. His fingers brush against my collarbone, and I feel a familiar warmth spread through my chest. There's something intimate about the gesture, something we've never acknowledged aloud. "There," he says softly, his dark eyes meeting mine for a moment longer than necessary. The elevator dings, and we both straighten our postures in perfect synchronization. The doors slide open to reveal the glass-walled paradise of Carter and Associates, one of New York's most prestigious architectural firms. And there, standing at the reception desk with his back to us, is the man himself, Alexander Carter. 6'3" of immaculately dressed perfection. When he turns, I feel that familiar kick in my chest. Those piercing blue eyes, the perfectly trimmed dark beard with hints of silver, and cheekbones that could cut glass. "Gentlemen," Carter says, his voice deep and smooth. "Just the two I wanted to see." Tommy and I exchange glances. 3 years working at the firm, and still, every time Carter addresses us directly, we revert to awkward schoolboys. "The Osaka project needs revisions by tomorrow morning," Carter continues, handing us each identical folders. "I'd like you both to work on alternative approaches, separately." His fingers brush against mine during the handoff, and I feel a jolt of electricity shoot up my arm. I notice Tommy's eyes narrow slightly at the contact. "May the best design win," Carter adds with a smile that doesn't quite reach his eyes before turning away. As we walk to our adjacent desks, Tommy leans in close. "Remember the pact?" he whispers. I nod, curtly. The pact, our sacred agreement formed after the Ryan incident in college, never pursue the same man again. That disaster had nearly destroyed 15 years of friendship, and we'd sworn never to let it happen again. But as I watch Carter disappear into his corner office, I wonder if any pact is strong enough to withstand the gravitational pull of Alexander Carter. The annual Carter and Associates holiday party is legendary in architectural circles. Alexander Carter spares no expense. Champagne flows freely, and New York's architectural elite mingle beneath crystal chandeliers. I sip my champagne, watching Tommy charm a group of city planners across the room. My best friend has always been the more sociable of the two of us, while I prefer to observe from the periphery. My eyes drift, as they always do, to Carter. The man stands alone by the windows, Manhattan's twinkling skyline behind him. As I watch, Carter's gaze shifts, catching my stare. Instead of looking away, Carter holds my gaze for a beat too long, a slight smile playing at the corners of his mouth. I nearly choke on my champagne. Is that interest? Before I can process the moment, Carter's eyes shift again, this time to Tommy. I turn to see my friend looking back at our boss with the same startled expression I just wore. A server passes with a tray of fresh drinks, and I grab another champagne, downing half of it in one go. When I look back, Carter is moving through the crowd towards us. "Enjoying the party?" Carter asks, materializing between us like he's been summoned. "It's magnificent," Tommy says, his voice higher than normal. "Truly spectacular," I add, hating how breathless I sound. Carter smiles, looking from one to the other. "You know, I've always found it fascinating how you two move as a unit. Known each other long?" "Since we were 8. We answer in unison, then laugh nervously. Fascinating, Carter repeats, his eyes lingering on each of us in turn. I'm curious to see how that dynamic translates to other areas. With that cryptic statement, he excuses himself to greet other guests, leaving Tommy and me staring after him. Did he just... Tommy begins. He couldn't have, I reply. We look at each other, the unspoken realization hanging between us. Alexander Carter just flirted with us. Both of us. The pact suddenly feels very, very fragile. 3 days later, I stand in the break room, hands shaking slightly as I prepare a coffee, not for myself, for Carter. I've spent the morning watching Carter's assistant's routine, noting exactly how the man likes his coffee. Now, with the assistant out sick, I have my opportunity. I'm just adding the precise amount of almond milk when Tommy enters the break room, eyes narrowing suspiciously at the premium coffee beans I've brought from home. What are you doing? Tommy asks, though his tone suggests he knows exactly what's happening. Being helpful, I reply innocently. Carter's assistant is out. Tommy crosses his arms. The pact, eyes. I'm making coffee, not a marriage proposal. Tommy's eyes narrow further. Fine, two can play this game. The next morning, I arrive to find Tommy already at Carter's desk, presenting elaborate pastries from Carter's favorite bakery across town. Carter looks up, catching my eye with an amused expression that clearly says I know exactly what's happening here. The game is on. What begins as innocent gestures quickly escalates. When I volunteer to stay late helping Carter with the Osaka project, Tommy suddenly remembers crucial research he's done that requires immediate attention. When Tommy scores an exclusive lunch meeting with Carter, I somehow manage to get the restaurant to lose their reservation. Our sabotage extends to our work. I accidentally spill coffee on Tommy's presentation boards minutes before a client meeting. Tommy retaliates by switching my meticulously crafted scale model with one that has subtle but embarrassing flaws. Through it all, Carter watches with those penetrating blue eyes, saying nothing, but missing nothing. I've decided to hold a special retreat this weekend, Carter announces during the Monday morning meeting. A creative workshop at my lakehouse for top performers. The entire room holds its breath. Carter's lakehouse is an architectural legend, a modernist masterpiece he designed himself, featured in every major design magazine, but never opened to colleagues. Eiserne, Tommy, Carter continues, your work on the Osaka project, despite its competitive nature, has shown remarkable creativity. I'd like both of you to attend. My heart races. A weekend at Carter's private home, alone with the man I've been fantasizing about for 3 years? Well, not alone. Tommy will be there too, which complicates everything. As we leave the meeting, Tommy grabs my arm, pulling me into an empty conference room. We need to talk about this, Tommy says, his expression serious. About what? I ask, feigning ignorance. About the fact that we're both breaking the pact while pretending we're not. I sigh, collapsing into a chair. I know, it's Carter. I know, Tommy echoes, sitting beside me. Look, this weekend is going to be a disaster if we keep sabotaging each other. What do you suggest? Tommy's eyes gleam with unexpected mischief. A temporary suspension of the pact, just for the weekend. May the best man win. I blink in surprise. You're serious? Deadly, but with ground rules. No sabotage that impacts our actual work. No lies about each other, and whatever happens, our friendship comes first when it's over. I consider it for a moment. Deal, I say finally, extending my hand. Tommy shakes it firmly. Game on. The drive to Carter's lake house is in the Adirondacks. Takes 3 hours. 3 hours of mounting tension in my BMW as Tommy and I alternate between reminiscing about our friendship. Remember senior prom? Tommy laughs. When we both showed up in the same tux? Because you copied me. I shot back with a grin. I did not. I told you I was wearing Calvin Klein. 2 weeks after I told you the same thing. Our laughter fades into comfortable silence before Tommy speaks again, his voice softer. Do you ever think about Ryan? My hands tighten on the steering wheel. Ryan Mendez, the beautiful exchange student from Barcelona who'd captured both our hearts junior year of college. The only time we'd ever truly fought. Sometimes, I admit finally. Mostly about how stupid we were. We didn't speak for 3 weeks, Tommy reminds me. Over a guy who ended up dating our professor. We both laugh, but there's an edge to it now. Carter's different, I say quietly. Tommy nods, hence the suspension of the pact. As the road narrows, my hand accidentally brushes against Tommy's. Neither of us pulls away immediately. His skin is warm against mine, and I feel a flutter in my stomach that has nothing to do with Carter. Remember that night in Milan? Tommy asks suddenly, his voice low. During our study abroad? My breath catches. We'd never spoken of that night. The night after too much Italian wine where we'd fallen asleep tangled together in my tiny dormitory bed. Waking up with his lips just inches from mine, both of us frozen in a moment that could have changed everything. I remember. Tommy's eyes met mine briefly before I have to look back at the road. I sometimes wonder what would have happened if... He didn't finish the thought, and I don't push. The air in the car feels charged with possibility. As we pull up to Carter's lakehouse, Carter emerges from the front door, casual in a way, dark jeans and a soft grey Henley that clings to his chest. 1 weekend, Tommy repeats, then back to the pact. Deal. I agree, though a part of me wonders if anything will ever be the same after this weekend. Carter's lakehouse is even more spectacular inside. You'll be staying in the East Wing, Carter explains, leading us through the house. 2 bedrooms with a shared bathroom. I hope that's acceptable. Perfect, we answer in unison. Carter's eyebrow raises slightly. I've always been fascinated by how you two do that. Dinner is a masterclass in tension. Carter opens an exceptional bottle of red wine. Throughout the evening, he asks thoughtful questions, all while maintaining an electric undercurrent that has both of us leaning toward him, like plants seeking sunlight. As night falls, Tommy makes his first move. The lake looks beautiful in the moonlight, he observes, glancing out the window. Perfect for a midnight swim. Carter smiles. It is. The water's heated, actually. There are suits in the pool house if you're interested. I'd love to, Tommy replies, looking directly at Carter. What a coincidence, I interject smoothly. I was just thinking the same thing. Carter's smile widens. Then perhaps we should all go for a swim. The midnight swim is a calculated disaster for both of us. Whatever seductive scenarios we'd imagined are impossible to execute with all 3 of us in the water. Instead, we find ourselves engaged in an increasingly competitive series of swimming races that Carter wins handily. Back in our wing of the house, Tommy and I glare at each other. A midnight swim? I hiss. Really? Like you had a better idea? Tommy shoots back. I do, actually, and you'll see it at breakfast. As Tommy steps into the bathroom to shower, I catch a glimpse of water running down his toned chest before he closes the door. My mouth goes dry. We've changed in front of each other countless times over the years, but tonight, something feels different. When he emerges in just a towel, droplets of water still clinging to his shoulders, I find myself staring longer than I should. Bathroom's all yours, he says, a curious expression crossing his face. I hurry past him, our shoulders brushing. The contact sends an unexpected shiver down my spine. Morning finds me in Carter's kitchen, preparing a gourmet breakfast. I've spent weeks perfecting the recipe after overhearing Carter mention it was his favorite breakfast. Tommy wanders in, eyes widening. Playing dirty, I see. Playing to win, I correct with a smug smile. When Tommy disappears to the bathroom, I don't think much of it, not until Carter takes his first bite. By noon, all three of us are experiencing mild but unmistakable food poisoning symptoms. "What did you do?" I demand when we're alone in our bathroom, both feeling queasy. Tommy looks genuinely apologetic. "I may have added a little extra something to the sauce, just enough to give you stomach cramps." "You absolute idiot," I groan, but there's no real venom in it. As I lean against the cool tile wall, Tommy sits beside me, our shoulders touching. Despite feeling terrible, I find comfort in his proximity. "Remember that time in college when we both got food poisoning?" Tommy asks, a weak smile playing on his lips. I laugh despite myself. "You held my hair back while I threw up." "And you did the same for me," he recalls, his hand finding mine between us. "We've always taken care of each other, haven't we?" I look up to find him watching me, his expression in a way I haven't seen before. "Always," I whisper. For a moment, the competition for Carter feels distant and unimportant. Tommy leans closer, his forehead resting against mine, our breath mingling. My heart pounds as his free hand comes up to cup my cheek. "Eyes?" he murmurs. The moment breaks when we hear Carter moving down the hallway, both of us pulling apart quickly. By evening, we've recovered enough for Carter to suggest a boat ride to watch the sunset. It should have been romantic. It might have been if Tommy and I weren't still trying to outmaneuver each other for the seat next to Carter, resulting in a near capsizing of the small boat. "Perhaps I should row," Carter suggests diplomatically, taking the oars from our competing hands. As the sun dips below, the first rumble of thunder sounds in the distance. "That wasn't in the forecast." Carter frowns, looking at the rapidly darkening sky. Within minutes, the weather transforms. Fat raindrops begin to fall. "We need to head back," Carter calls over. A sudden gust catches us broadside. Carter lunges to stabilize the craft. "The boathouse!" Carter points to a small structure along the shore. Working together, we manage to guide the boat toward the house. By the time we reach it, all three are drenched. The boathouse is a small storage area, but it provides shelter from the worsening storm. Carter finds emergency supplies, blankets, a lantern, and a small space heater powered by the boathouse's solar backup system. "I need to check on the main house," Carter says, wrapping a blanket around his shoulders. "Make sure everything's secure. You two stay here where it's safe. I'll be back once the worst passes." Before either of us can protest, he's gone, disappearing into the rain. Tommy and I look at each other, suddenly alone for the first time since arriving at the lakehouse. "Some weekend," Tommy says with a weak laugh, wringing water from his shirt. I nod, wrapping myself in a blanket. After a moment, Tommy joins me, huddling close for warmth. "Remember that camping trip in 10th grade?" Tommy asks. "When that surprise storm flooded our tent?" I smile at the memory. "And we had to sleep in your dad's car? We told ghost stories all night," Tommy continues. "You were so scared you wouldn't let go of my hand." "I was not scared," I protest. We both laugh, and something in the atmosphere shifts. The competition replaced by the comfortable familiarity of friendship. "Is Carter worth this?" I ask suddenly. "Worth risking us?" Tommy is quiet for a long moment. "I don't know," he admits finally. "I'm not even sure what this is anymore. Are we competing for him or trying to prove something to each other?" Lightning flashes, illuminating Tommy's face. For a moment, I see him with new eyes. Has Tommy always been this handsome, this essential to my life? "What are we doing, Tommy?" I whisper. Tommy meets my gaze, something unreadable in his expression. "I don't know, Eyes. I really don't know." His eyes drop to my lips, and the air between us crackles with more electricity. Slowly, as if giving me time to pull away, Tommy leans forward. When his lips touch mine, it's gentle, questioning. I respond, my hand sliding up to cup the back of his neck, pulling him closer. The kiss deepens. Tommy's hands find my waist, drawing me against his chest as his tongue traces the seam of my lips. I open to him willingly, a soft moan escaping me as the kiss turns hungry, desperate. "I've wanted to do this for so long," Tommy breathes against my mouth. "Years, Eis, so many years." "Why didn't you ever say anything?" I ask, my fingers tangling in his damp hair. "I was afraid," he admits, pressing his forehead to mine. "Afraid of losing you. You're the most important person in my life." Instead of answering, I pull him back to me. His hands slip beneath my wet shirt, warm against my chilled skin. I tug at his shirt, needing to feel more of him. The sight of Tommy's bare chest gleaming in the lantern light steals my breath. I've seen him shirtless countless times, but never like this, never with permission to touch, to taste. I lean forward, pressing my lips to the hollow of his throat, feeling his pulse race beneath my mouth. "Eyes," he groans, his head falling back. "Are we really doing this?" I gasp as his lips find the sensitive spot below my ear. "Do you want to stop?" he asks, pulling back just enough to meet my eyes. I shake my head, pulling him back down to me. "Don't you dare." Afterward, wrapped in blankets and each other's arms, we lie in silence. "That was..." I begin, unable to find adequate words. "I know," Tommy says, pressing a kiss to my temple. The storm passes eventually, and Carter returns to escort us back to the house. Something has changed between Tommy and me, a subtle shift neither of us is ready to name. Back at the house, Carter leads us to the living room where a fire is already blazing in the fireplace. "I think we need to talk," Carter says, his tone more serious. Tommy and I exchange nervous glances. "I've been watching you two all weekend," Carter continues. "Actually, I've been watching you for months now." He gestures to a laptop on the table, its screen showing security camera feeds from around the property. "You've been spying on us?" I ask, anger flaring. Carter shakes his head. "Standard security system. But yes, I heard your conversation in the boathouse, and I've seen everything else too. The competition, the sabotage, all of it." "We can explain," Tommy begins, but Carter holds up a hand. "No need. I've been encouraging it, to be honest." "What?" we ask simultaneously. Carter smiles. "I wanted to see how far you'd go, both of you. I find your dynamic fascinating." He moves closer, standing before us. "The question is, what happens now? Because I'm interested in both of you, and I think you're both interested in me." My mouth goes dry. Is Carter suggesting what I think he's suggesting? "But I also think," Carter continues, his eyes moving between us, "that there's something else happening here. Something you haven't acknowledged yet." "What do you mean?" Tommy asks, his voice barely audible. Carter's smile deepens. "I mean, why choose? I've always wondered what it would be like to be with both of you." The room falls silent except for the crackling of the fire. "Together?" I finally manage. "Together," Carter confirms. "Unless I'm misreading the situation entirely." I look at Tommy, whose expression mirrors my own shock, and something else. Curiosity? Desire? Tommy begins, then stops, looking at me helplessly. "We need to discuss this," I say to Carter. "Privately." Carter nods. "Of course. Take all the time you need." After he leaves, Tommy and I sit in stunned silence. "Did that just happen?" Tommy finally asks. "I think it did," I reply. "What do we do?" Tommy runs a hand through his hair. "I don't know." "Would it be crazy?" Tommy asks softly. "To say yes?" I look at him. "Probably, but when have we ever done the same thing?" Tommy takes my hand, bringing it to his lips. "What happened in the boathouse? That wasn't just because of the situation, was it?" "No," I admit, my heart racing. Tommy's smile is radiant. Then maybe this is exactly where we're supposed to be, together, with or without Carter. I lean forward, kissing him softly. Together sounds perfect. What follows is the most awkward yet electric night of my life. Carter proves to be as masterful in the bedroom, expertly navigating the dynamic between the three of us with confidence and surprising tenderness. But something unexpected happens. As the night progresses, I find my gaze drawn not to Carter, but to Tommy. Our eyes meet over Carter's shoulder, holding for moments that grow increasingly charged. When Tommy's hand brushes mine, the electricity is undeniable. By morning, I'm confused in ways I never anticipated. The rest of the weekend passes in a blur of new experiences. We return to the city, the three of us having crossed a boundary that can never be uncrossed. In the weeks that follow, our unconventional arrangement continues. Carter invites us both to his house. Each encounter is more comfortable than the last, yet I can't shake the feeling that something fundamental has changed, not just between me and Carter, but between me and Tommy. One night, after leaving Carter's, Tommy invites me to his apartment. We've been spending more nights together than apart since the lakehouse. "Stay?" Tommy whispers against my neck as we tumble onto his bed. "I wasn't planning on leaving," I murmur. "No, I mean, stay. Move in with me." I pull back, searching his gaze. "Are you serious?" Tommy cups my face between his hands. "I've been in love with you since we were 16, Eis. I just never had the courage to say it. I don't want to waste any more time." My heart feels too big for my chest. "I love you too," I admit, the words coming easily now that they've been freed. "I think I always have." Tommy worships me with his hands and mouth, whispering words of love and desire against my skin. I come apart in his arms, his name a prayer on my lips. Then comes the announcement that changes everything. I've been offered a position overseeing the new Singapore office. Carter tells us one evening as we lie tangled in his king-sized bed, a 2-year minimum commitment. I feel Tommy tense beside me. "I'd like you both to consider coming with me." Carter continues. "Your talents would be invaluable to the expansion." "Move to Singapore?" Tommy repeats, sitting up. "For 2 years?" "Or longer," Carter replies. That night, in our shared Uber cab, Tommy and I are uncharacteristically quiet. "Are you going to go?" Tommy finally asks as we near his apartment. "I don't know," I admit. "Are you?" Tommy shrugs. "Carter's an amazing opportunity, career-wise and otherwise." "But Singapore is so far," I say quietly. "From what?" The question hangs between us, heavy with implications neither of us is ready to face. The decision point comes a week later. Carter has invited us to dinner to discuss the Singapore offer, expecting answers. I arrive at Tommy's apartment to find him packing. "You're going?" I say, my heart sinking. "I'm considering it," Tommy corrects. "What about you?" "I don't know," I admit, collapsing onto Tommy's couch. "My whole life is here, my family, my friends." "Me?" Tommy adds quietly. I look up sharply. "What?" "I'm here," Tommy clarifies, though his eyes say something different. "Or I would be if I stayed." "Would you stay?" I ask, my voice barely audible. "If I asked you to?" Tommy abandons his packing, moving to sit beside me. "Would you ask me to?" The air between us feels charged. "I don't want to lose you," I confess. These past few weeks with Carter have been incredible, but every time, I find myself looking at you. Tommy's breath catches. "I thought it was just me." "It's never been just you," I say. I reach for him, pulling him into a kiss that quickly deepens. "I love you," he murmurs against my mouth. "Carter is amazing, but what I feel for you, it's different, deeper." "I love you too," I whisper, rocking against him. I think I always have. You feel like home, Tommy whispers, his movements slow and deliberate. I wrap my legs around his waist, drawing him deeper. You are my home. Later, wrapped in each other's arms, Tommy asks, but what about Carter and the pact? I think the pact was always about protecting our friendship, I say slowly. But what if it was also keeping us from seeing what was right in front of us? Tommy's hand finds mine, fingers intertwining. So what do we tell Carter? Tommy asks. The truth, I reply. Whatever that is. Carter takes the news with surprising equanimity when we meet for dinner that evening. I suspected as much, he says, swirling his wine. From the first night we spent together, I could see it, the way you looked at each other. You're not upset? Tommy asks cautiously. Carter smiles, though there's a hint of sadness in it. Disappointed, perhaps, but not surprised. In fact, I may have encouraged the situation. What do you mean? I mean that sometimes people need a catalyst to see what's been in front of them all along, Carter explains. So this whole thing was, what, an experiment? Tommy asks, an edge to his voice. Carter shakes his head. No, my interest in both of you was genuine, still is, but I also recognized something between you that perhaps you didn't. He leans forward, his expression earnest. I'm polyamorous by nature. I would have been happy continuing our arrangement, even bringing it to Singapore, but I would never want to stand in the way of something that's clearly meant to be. I feel Tommy's hand find mine under the table. That said, Carter continues, my offer remains open to both of you, together, and if you ever decide you want to revisit our arrangement, I would be open to that as well. The annual Carter and Associates holiday party comes around again, exactly 1 year after the night that set everything in motion. This time, as I adjust my tie in the mirror, burgundy silk, matching Tommy's, I feel a different kind of anticipation. Ready? Tommy asks, coming up behind me and wrapping his arms around my waist. Almost, I reply, turning in Tommy's embrace to kiss him softly. Do you think people will talk? Tommy laughs. About the fact that we're together, or about the fact that we sometimes still see Carter when he's in town? Both, I guess, I admit. Let them talk, Tommy says with a shrug. He pulls me closer, his hands sliding down to cup my backside. I press against him, feeling his growing arousal. We're going to be late. Would that be so terrible? His lips finding that sensitive spot below my ear. I groan, already weakening. Carter's only in town for 2 days. Tommy smiles against my skin. Then we better not keep him waiting. We arrive at the Mandarin Oriental together, hands linked. Carter spots us immediately from across the room, raising his champagne glass in acknowledgement. He has flown in from Singapore specifically for the party, and will be returning to our apartment afterward, a special holiday arrangement we have all been looking forward to. Nervous? Tommy asks as we make our way through the crowd. Not anymore, I reply, squeezing his hand. We have found our way to an unconventional but perfect balance. As we reach Carter, he greets each of us with a warm embrace that lingers just long enough to raise eyebrows among our colleagues. Two architects, Carter toasts, his eyes twinkling with private meaning. I look at Tommy, seeing the same love and certainty I feel in my own heart in his eyes. Would you have a threesome with your boss and best friend? Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing to become a part of our Rainbow Force and stay wholesome.